What's going on, everyone? So, Kevin Love to the Los Angeles Lakers. Personally, I wouldn't hate it if it was in like the Jared Dudley role, right? A guy that can, play in spots when need be. A guy gets the night off or something like that. He can plug in, he can play, has chemistry alongside LeBron. I imagine he'd probably play very well off of Luka. Veteran presence, a guy that can be a leader in the locker room, a guy that's won a championship, right? Like, I don't hate the idea of Kevin Love, but I don't want the Lakers to add him as like a rotation piece, right? I don't want them to add him as like a guy that they're leaning on, right? Like that is where I don't like the idea of Kevin Love. Now, obviously, look, the Lakers can't sign anybody until a trade happens. I know every time we talk about, free agents, people go like, oh, like we can't make, I get it. I know, I'm very aware. But if the Lakers find a trade, that's going to open up roster spots. Lakers are still active in trying to find trades. Again, we're still two and a half months away from training camp. A lot can happen between now and then. Lakers are still exploring options for wing depth and potential backup centers, right? So something could happen. And if the Lakers find, a free, like if Nikola Vucevic ends up getting bought out and the Lakers really want him, they'll go and do what they have to do. I look at Kevin Love. Lakers have that 15th roster spot, right? I look at Kevin Love as a guy to fill that 15th roster spot, right? Think of how impactful and how important Jared Dudley was as like an extension of the coach, a player coach, a guy that was a leader in the locker room, a guy that really kind of, kept everything together. Helped the young guys, helped the veteran guys, did a little bit of everything, right? Was kind of the voice of the players, but also for the players, right? A guy that could communicate things from the coach to the team, as well as from the team to the coach, kind of that middleman, because he was respected in both manners. Kevin Love is a guy that I look at in that regard. From LA, right? UCLA guy, right? Familiar with LeBron James. And so I would love to bring in Kevin Love if you can bring him in on that Jared Dudley role. Right? So that doesn't even necessarily mean it has to be right now, right? Like Kevin Love, hey, we can't sign you right now because you're full, the vet minimum is too much. Let us get through, the trade deadline or whatever, and then we'll bring you in for a push come playoff time. And I do think he's a guy that in spots could help, right? I do think he's a guy in spots. If a guy's having a bad night, I do think he is a guy that can play. Right? I mean, even last year, he was still a 5-4 guy in limited minutes. His efficiency was not great. So, they definitely would have to, but also again, playing alongside LeBron, like I think he would be a little more efficient. I don't know how efficient, and we'll go over the numbers here later, but I don't know how efficient he'd be compared to like what he was. Obviously, if this is prime Kevin Love, trade whatever you have to trade to go get Kevin Love. But this is 36-year-old Kevin Love, who will be 37 in September, right? So this is Kevin Love at the end of his career. But there's nothing wrong with having that presence in the locker room, right? There's nothing wrong with having that Jared Dudley guy. There's nothing wrong with bringing somebody in who can also still play. That's the key, right? You're not just bringing him in as a guy to just, take up a roster spot. You're bringing him in as a guy that can play on any given night, give you some relief at the center or even power forward position, right? You can play either spot. And a guy that I do think could be very beneficial to guys like even Jackson Hayes, right? Guys like DeAndre Ayton, guys like, an Adu Thero and, a Jake LaRavia and these guys, right? Because he's a guy that was a superstar, one of the best power forwards in all of basketball at the time, to I'm going to sacrifice all of that for the sake of winning. And I'm going to become the third option and essentially relegated to a corner spot up 3-and-D guy. Right? People forget how good Kevin Love was. I mean, that guy was an automatic. Like a bad night was like 20-10 for him. This is a guy that regularly would have like 30 and 20 games or stuff. Like the guy was unbelievable. Guy was a double machine, could do it all. Talk about floor spacing bigs and stuff. He was that before that was popularized, before that was a thing. A guy that could spread the floor, shoot from basically anywhere on the basketball court, but rebound like no one's business. His rebounding alone could do a ton for the Lakers. His rebounding alone could do a lot. But again, I don't want the Lakers to bring him in as a guy that is getting, like I said, a rotation guy. Like, I don't want him to be one of our top 8 guys. Like, I don't mind if he's playing, like, throughout the course of an 82-game season. Let's say during the season, he's averaging, like, 10 minutes a night, 8 to 10 minutes a night. I don't care. Like that, I don't mind. Right? If you want to play him in spots and all that stuff, right? And you want to go, 11 deep during the regular season, or like I said, a guy Jackson Hayes ends up getting the night off. And so it's like, hey, let's go with Kevin Love as the primary backup tonight, alongside DeAndre Ayton. You can play him alongside DeAndre Ayton at times. LeBron gets the night off. It's like, hey, let's get some Kevin Love at the 4, right? Like, if it's warranted, sure. Right? Again, if you want to, kind of, hey, let's keep LeBron's minutes low. He's played a lot of minutes the last 3 games. Let's have Kevin Love play, 10 minutes tonight so that way LeBron can play 10 fewer minutes, kind of get a little rest, right? Like things like that. I would love to see Kevin Love in that role because I do think he can still be impactful. I think he'd be great for the locker room. I think he'd be a great extension for the coaches. Again, that Jared Dudley role. I think Kevin Love is one of the best options for that Jared Dudley role. I think he's a guy that can really come in and be a mentor and be somebody that can really just kind of help that team in multiple facets. So I would personally not against if they were to bring in Kevin Love once everything's said and done, right? But also, where does this stem from? Right? Because I know people are going to want to know, like, well, did this just come out of left field? Well, Kevin Love supposedly wants to be in like a glamour market. The Knicks or the Lakers are the 2 teams that are his preferred destinations, and this is per Jake L. Fisher. Kevin Love reportedly wants to play in a glamour market, per Jake L. Fisher. So with Kevin Love, to my understanding, he really only wants to be in the big glamour markets. I do think it would mostly be something along the lines of Kevin Love going to the New York Knicks or the Los Angeles type of situation. So we'll see if that can materialize for him. So again, and then also there were reports that that there's concerns about LeBron's voice, being kind of carried out, and that Kevin Love could be that for the Lakers, right? So, I've talked about this before because I know people are going to be like, oh, what do you mean LeBron's voice, right? Most people can't relate to LeBron. Most people also don't understand, like, when it's one thing when LeBron tells you something. It's different when somebody like your peer tells you something. It's easier to communicate, right? Like if I explain quantum physics to you, right? You're like, I don't get it. I am lost. But if I explain quantum physics to somebody that, maybe doesn't understand the full grasp of quantum physics, but understands a good amount, right? Like they're going to be able to relate better. They're going to have a better understanding. You're going to be able to have an easier conversation. Nobody on the Lakers outside of Luka is to the heights of LeBron James, right? So when he says something or communicates something, right? It's like the boss coming to tell you something, right? It's like, oh no, like it's one thing. Here's a better analogy. Maybe the quantum physics thing was a little too out there, right? Here's a better analogy, right? When your boss comes, hey, I need to see you in my office, right? What's your first thought? Like, oh, I'm in trouble, right? Like, oh, they caught me. And you're starting to think of all the things you did bad, right? Like what was the worst thing that they could, say to me right now, right? It's like that. But if your coworker comes, like say your boss tells your coworker something, right? Hey, can you talk to Tyler and let Tyler know about this, right? And my coworker comes to me and says, hey, buddy, like, just to let you know, like, hey, don't do that. It's like, oh, good looking out, G, right? Like that kind of thing, right? That's essentially what Kevin Love could be for the Lakers, right? That's what that means is like, LeBron's voice, having Kevin Love as kind of that middleman, right? That, again, like a Jared Dudley. That's what Jared, like, people don't want to go tell the boss, something, right? They'd rather tell the guy, the assistant manager, because the assistant manager's cool and like, like it's that kind of thing. And also LeBron's not a Kobe or a Jordan. He's not like very abrupt, like, he wants to be liked. He wants to be loved. You hear every time somebody's like, oh, what do you think about LeBron as a teammate? And they're like, he's great. He's happy and he's goofy and he's like a little kid and he's always playing jokes and da-da-da-da-da, right? That's the image he wants. He wants to be loved. He wants to be beloved. He doesn't want to be the a-hole, right? So you get a guy like a Kevin Love, LeBron could be like, hey, tell these guys to do X, Y, and Z, right? And it gets relayed more rather than LeBron looking like the a-hole or his point being missed because people aren't really, like, people are more concerned about LeBron's telling me this rather than the news and information that's being put out. LeBron has said it himself in things. It's not about the way it's delivered. It's about the message, right? Like, he's talked about even with JJ Redick. JJ Redick is, high tense, like, right? Don't take how he's presenting it to you. Take what he is presenting to you. Right? And so having a guy like a Kevin Love, that could be something for LeBron and the coaching staff and whatnot, that he gets it. Like, go ahead, lay into me. Let me be the kind of shield. You say what you got to say to me, and then I will relay that to the team. And then, coaching, players, all that stuff can do that. So I do really like Kevin Love in that role. I think he's a guy that could really be impactful. Like I said, he's still, last year he was 5 points, 4 rebounds. Here, I'll go over his numbers real quick. So 23 games for Miami, 11 minutes per game, 35.7% from the field on 5 attempts. 3 of those 5 attempts were from 3-point range. He was 36%, which isn't bad. 36% from 3-point range isn't terrible. He was 30. Problem was on 2.1 attempts, he was 35.4%. He was actually worse from 2-point range than he was from 3. EFG of 46.1%. Free throw shooting 70% on 1 attempt, 4 rebounds, including 1 offensive rebound, 1 assist, almost a full steal, half a block, and 5.3 points. You look at his per 36. Per 36 doesn't tell you everything, but kind of gives you a little idea of, like, what would his production be. He would have been 18 point, 14 rebound, 3 assists, 2.2 steals, and a block per game. Right? So he's a guy that could still give you some production. He's a guy that could still do some stuff out there on the basketball court. I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't mind it. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.